Welcome back to the Who's Right podcast, and another week. We're 10 days away from opening day. Is that correct? We didn't come to you yesterday because we were watching the WBC. Still repping my Dominican hat. But before we get into all of it, subscribe to the channel, like this video. Let me know how you're feeling about this team. Opening day is in 10 days. I'm gonna say it again. Opening day is in 10 days. Let me know how you're feeling. I'm excited. I don't know if you hear to my voice. I'm excited. Victor, how you doing?
I'm excited too, man. There's only excitement right now with in the world of baseball. After that electric game yesterday, you know, it was it got you feeling all of the emotion for the baseball season right at the beginning of the year. And now we just need that emotion to transfer over to Mets camp. We saw how excited um Juan Soto got with his team, how hyped up he was, how emotional he got when, and we'll talk about it in a little bit about with his performance being the way it was yesterday. Brazoban having some big outings and how electric he looked and how fired up he was. So all the emotions are here. Baseball is right around the corner, and I just can't wait.
Yeah, no, for sure. And let's hit the WBC for a minute. That was an awesome game yesterday. We saw defensive plays, not a lot of offense. What, three home runs in total, and that was the game. So it was a good game. I enjoyed it. I didn't enjoy the ending, but at the end of the day, American team, USA beat the Dominican team. You don't want to see that end that way. Such a good game, and and we have to talk about the controversy about the strike. You know what I mean? You don't want to see that. At the end of the day, you want to promote the sport. And I think the game did that. The game. Came down to the last batter. So it was an awesome game. Proud of the Dominican team. They played their hearts out, and tomorrow we root for Nolan McLean. But at the end of the day, I really enjoyed that game. Hats off, but still disappointed.
Yeah, and that's really what I'm excited for is to see Nolan McLean pitch tomorrow. It's going to be some redemption for him because his first outing didn't go as planned. He had a rough outing. We're not gonna cut any corners here or sugarcoat this one. Uh, he didn't perform as well as we wanted him to, and and now he'll get the biggest stage with some redemption for his team, potentially against the same team in Italy, which would be pretty crazy. They're up right now. They're winning their game, but it'll be really interesting to see him pitch. Not only to see him pitch, but to see how long he can get out there. And so that's going to be exciting to see as well. Obviously, the game yesterday was the real championship between the Dominicans and the Americans, and it was a really good game. That controversy at the end there is something that we have to look forward to this season because that's not what we're going to deal with. We get to have those challenges. Juan Soto, with his eye at the plate, is going to be able to challenge that ball four that was, or the that ball would have been two at the end of the play, and I can't say that it was for any which side because both sides had some controversy there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. As far as that ump being the ump in the WBC, he's the fourth worst ump in the MLB. You just can't have that if you're Major League Baseball. They talked about why they didn't have the ABS system in there, and they said it was because they couldn't measure everybody. Especially the guys from the West Coast. I mean, Asia, and so it's disappointing, but I don't want to harp on it too much. At the end of the day, scoring only one run. Whether we had a chance or not at the end, scoring one run, you got to tip your cap. They had a great pitching performance. They had, um, and it was a pitcher's duel, and you can't, people talk about how low scoring games aren't exciting. Well, that game was exciting. You had people stealing homers, people getting thrown out at third base, and a low scoring game. And I love pitchers duels. That if you're a Mets fan, you know that you love pitchers duel. Going from Seaver to Doc and to Degrom, and now hopefully McClay. And so, it's you just love pitchers duels if you're a Mets fan, because that's just part of our DNA. We got these top line pitchers, and and with good defense, and hopefully McLean will surpass Peralta this year as the number one. Since he doesn't have the pressure of being number one, and but I'm excited to see him pitch tomorrow. So enough WBC, because if I keep talking about it, I'm a feel like I felt yesterday. And so I'm not going to talk about it anymore. Hats off to USA. We're rooting for Nolan McLean tomorrow and USA to win. But yeah, let's get into spring training. Um, guess who's back? Back again. Lindor is back in the lineup, feeling good. Got a nice base hit. Look good at the plate, and it doesn't look like the hammock bone is bothering him. He looks like he's ready to go. Obviously, not ready to go, but he looks like he's going to be ready for opening day.
Yeah, you can't keep this guy down. Like, it's been what, 2 weeks or maybe 3 weeks since he's gotten that surgery, and he's already back playing games and looking like he's the same Lindor. And hopefully, not being in WBC, being able to rep his country, is a little bit of motivation for him to have a fast start to this year, because we know that whenever he does start the season, he starts a little slow. And maybe being where he is now, having that extra juice, not playing in that WBC, but also having some ground to make up because he didn't play for so long in spring training will help him get along a little faster. But it's great to just see him back. We got to see almost the full lineup yesterday with Lindor leading off. We know he's going to do that this year, and then the only one that was missing was Soto. And we'll get to see a full lineup with Juan Soto and all the guys in there coming up here in just a couple of days once Juan Soto's back and we see all of those guys in there. So I'm excited, and you know Lindor I got his jersey because for me he's what made this era of Mets fun and exciting. It was the first big move for Steve Cohen, and so you can't help but get excited when he's back.
Yeah, no, for sure. Shout out to Fu Johnson in the chat. Thanks for being here, but you can't count this guy out. This guy plays to do everything. Hopefully he's doesn't have to play through too much this year. Every year it seems like he's playing through some broken bone or something, and hopefully this was what's the only thing that was going to happen this year. And so, I'm excited to see him. Like you said, we almost saw the full lineup. Beatty continues to perform at first base. That's uh you know, if you're a friend of the pod, you know that we've been talking about Brett Beatty. Not only are we fans of Brett Beatty, but we've been talking about Brett Beatty being at first base this whole time. And so I'm excited to see him there. I'm excited to see him do well. And this full lineup is, I think, it's going to be pretty good, man. I don't know about you, but I think we're going to be scoring some runs this year, and I'm fully confident that we're going to be scoring some runs this year. The only concern, and that we need to talk about, because Senga looked good yesterday too. Senga, upped his game with fastballs, to 98 and stuff like that, and he's looking good. He didn't even, I think he threw his ghost fork twice yesterday, and so if we have Senga back, we always knew when healthy, when right, mechanically, health wise, whatever, Senga is going to be that guy. And so, hopefully everything comes together for him this season, and we see that guy that almost won a Cy Young. But the guy that we're worried about is Manea. What is it? Just spring training? Is it him working on stuff? Is it what is it? Is it the bone spurs? All those questions are going to come up because his velocity's down. And if he's going to be hittable, that's a big concern. We don't want deja vu of 2025. We want to move forward for 2025. So if we're going to see deja vu Manaya, is he destined to the bullpen? I don't know. I'm concerned. What do you think?
Well, yeah. Well, one more thing about the lineup, because you touched on everybody that is going to be exciting, and we forgot to mention Francisco Alvarez, and I can't go without mentioning how exciting that kid is with the numbers he's putting up, with the home runs he's hitting. So I'm excited to watch him play this year, and that's going to be a big breaking out, a potential breaking out party for him this year. But with Manaya, uh, he's getting touched up pretty bad, and every time he's out there, it seems like he's giving up runs, and it's like they know what's coming. It's like they can see it easily, and that was his biggest help last or when he was good. It was when he would change his arm angle and people didn't know what was coming. We saw him make Shohei Otani look silly in the NLCS and so many other batters. And so if he doesn't have that, don't know where it's coming from stuff, then he's just not going to be effective this year. And like you said, that velocity is a big part of that. And I don't even know how effective that will be in the bullpen because we saw them try it out in the bullpen last year, and he was still getting touched up. He was still getting beat up. And so now, where last year we thought it was a matter of he's fatigued, he's getting really tired. Now it's, does he have the stuff? Does he have the velocity and the arsenal to be able to be a major league pitcher at this point? And instead of thinking like more optimistic like you of and I'll say optimistic but it's not that optimistic, and thinking he'll have a repeat year of last year, I'm thinking he might be more like his buddy in a Frankie Montas and get DFA'd if this is the rate, because we can't afford to even have him at the in the bullpen giving up that many runs.
Man, you brought up a bad word, man. We don't say those names, those words on this podcast anymore, man. Frankie Smokes is a guy that we all didn't want, and if Manaya is becoming Frankie Smokes, then he's going to leave a lot of smoke in on that mound, because being the having to avoid the baseballs and managers and players taking them out, because that's terrible. You just gave me flashbacks, and I don't know, man. That I would hate to see him not be that guy, but if he does repeat what he did last year, he might be Frankie Smokes, and so that's terrible to see. That time will tell. Right now, knock on wood, we got everybody healthy, and so we're gonna roll with a six man. And the question is Manaya going to be the piggyback, right? Is Manea right now going to be that guy that comes in relief instead of an actual six man, right? He's going to be that guy that comes out of the bullpen, kind of like we saw when he first came back last year. So hopefully it's not what you're saying. It's not Frankie Smokes, but it's something to keep an eye on. And the question is, how long is the leash? How long do we wait to Manaya get right? Obviously he's got that contract, so he's got a little bit of I would say leeway in the sense that you know they're going to give him a little bit of time because of that contract. But the question is, how long?
And that's the key too, is that he does have a lot more time than what we would have given Frankie Montas here. And I think his saving grace also is these other guys not also not performing as well. You know, Christian Scott has looked okay, but he's not pushing the needle for a big move to be made. Jonah Tong was already announced that he's going to start the year in the major leagues. He already got sent down to camp, got sent down to the minor leagues. The only other guy they could think of replacing him at this point is a Tobias Myers, and replacing him for that kind of rotation spot slash role that Manaya would play. And he's controllable, he's young, but again, we're not giving him as much money as we are Sean Manea, and we don't want to just give him away for a bag of chips because we know he'll get picked up, especially having the year and the potential that he has, and seeing that if he does get DFA'd, um, or get traded at the very least, he'll get traded for a lot of that contract down, because who's going to want to pay $22 million for a pitcher that is always giving things up? It'll be more of a tryout for him on another team. But like you said, I hope that we're talking worst case scenario. It is spring training, and we don't want to get the cart before the horse here.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like you said, it's spring training. Obviously, Scott and Tong aren't ready. They need some time, especially Scott. Scott needs to get back into shape, into baseball shape, and Tong needs to continue to working on that cutter, uh, continue working on that third pitch. So, you know, and that's the thing. And maybe we just answered our question, right? Does Manaya get what half the season until these guys may be ready? And that's probably the answer right there, is that he's probably going to get half the season until either a Christian Scott or a Jonah Tong is ready to come up. More a Christian Scott than anything else, and to ready to come up because he's already got the arsenal. He's just got to get built back up because he hasn't pitched in a year and a half. So it's probably half the season if now that we kind of talk that out, that we're going to see the leash. And if he doesn't perform, I think Christian Scott, if we need him, because at the end of the day we got six guys, right? So um, I don't think if everybody's healthy, Christian Scott will come up, right? It'll be another bullpen bat and just leave a five-man rotation. So a lot of things have to happen for that to happen. So hopefully that's the worst case scenario, and hopefully it doesn't come to fruition. And
And I'll add too, the only person that really needs that six-man rotation is Kodai Senga. I Freddie Peralta is going to be pitching on regular rest. I imagine that Nolan McLean wants to continue to build up his pitch count and in his innings, so that he can be a be a pitcher that gets to that level. Clay Holmes is coming into his second year of his role as a starting pitcher, and David Peterson has done it a whole bunch. And so, really, you would only be making that accommodation for Shamanaya and Kodai Senga. And if Shamanaya doesn't um, do what he needs to do, then we can you could definitely make it work where you don't have to have a six-man rotation. And so I know we love the idea and think that we have an overabundance, but it's baseball and anything can happen.
Yeah, no, for sure. Anything can happen, and according to Senga a couple of weeks ago, he's fine with a five man as well. I think we're going with a six man mainly because we got six pitchers that have to stay up. The only one that has an option is Nolan McLean, and he's not going anywhere. So I think it's mainly because of need that we're going with a six man. No, not. We're going because we have to, not because of need. Because we have six pitchers and Nolan McLean's not going anywhere. So yeah, that's the key. Now let's finish this pod up and talking about right field. And with connection to that, Mark Vientos. Right now, what Mark Vientos went 0 for 4 again today. That's 2 days in a row that he went 0 for 4. And I wouldn't say I'm a Mark Vientos hater, but I've been talking about this for a while. That one, he's not that player, and two, this is not a Stearns type of player. And so the question is, if Vientos continues to look like that this week, what is the decision? Is Vientos still on this team?
Listen, man, I don't want to sit here and just trash Mark Vientos, but dude, it looks bad. It looks really bad, and he's not able to do anything. He's still striking out, and he's still putting up. He's not playing defense either, and so it's really like, what else can you do to kind of make this happen for Mark Vientos? And the answer is nothing. He just has to kind of find it. And I think, uh, as much as you and I sit here and talk about how bad he's doing, I don't believe that Davis Stearns thinks that uh, we can just give him away like that. That we can just kind of DFA him for the price, for what we've seen out of him, for what we believe that he can be, and for just the role that he would play on the Mets. Because you got to think, as much as we sat here and talked about how much Mark Vientos is can be an X factor, we also talked about the needs for the Mets, and the need for the Mets right now is a right hand bat off the bench. That's not something that they currently have. We can sit here and talk about Jared Young, and he's a lefty, right? Yeah, he's a
Yeah,
lefty.
Jared Young's a lefty, but the question for you is, what does it matter if he's a righty if he can't hit the ball?
Well, again, he'll be playing off the bench. So how many at bats will he really get? And at the same time, you never know what you're going to get with Mark Vientos. We saw the biggest at bats that he got were off the bench, pinch hitting for a guy like Brett Beatty, or someone else when he was first coming up. And so, I think he just provides for too much excitement for Davis Stearns and Carlos Mendoza to just cut ties with him. But at some point during the season, the same question that we asked about Sean Manea, we have to ask about Mark Vientos, because this guy is going to get a leash. How long of a leash do we want to give him though? And um, who do we have that replacement bat for him in the minor leagues or on the team right now? If we were to move forward with sign or with keeping him on that 26 man to start the season.
Well, I get what you're saying, and I completely agree with what you're saying. But here's the thing: I was listening to a pod. I can't remember the name of the pod right now. Um, well, it was Talking Mets, and the guy was talking about um, Mark Vientos being just like JD Davis. And we didn't want to sell low on JD Davis until we had to sell low on JD Davis. And eventually he was just JD Davis, right? He never panned out to be the guy that we all expected him to be when we first traded for him, and he never became that after we traded him away. And so the question is, if he's JD Davis 2.0, do we want to even waste our time worrying about a guy that's never going to pan out? We can't. We're in a different regime. Not only is it the Stearns team, but it's also Cohen's team, where we can't be afraid to lose prospects at this point, right? And if he ends up blossoming somewhere else later on, kind of like a Justin Turner, so be it. It happens. But right now, he doesn't fit this team. I don't see a fit this team. Unless you can tell me there's a fit for this team. And if he is JD Davis, do you want to continue to waste your time with JD Davis?
Don't do Mark Vientos like that. He ain't no JD Davis. JD Davis never did what Mark Vientos did, and even just the short time, even in we'll just give him the 2024 season. He never had a year like Mark Vientos did, and I'm not saying that to again fight for Mark Vientos here, but I am saying that because you are right. We don't want to just keep him here, just taking up space. We have to continue to keep the train moving, and if he turns out to something, then that's awesome. We'll root for him whatever team he goes to, just like we rooted for um, Justin Turner to do well and his team, like we rooted for Wilmer Flores to do well with the Giants. Um, we're not gonna sit here and hate if he does well in another team, but again, I don't know if there is a valid replacement for Mark Vientos right now in the state of the Mets. I know that there is one coming, and a guy like Ryan Clifford that can provide.
He's a lefty too, though.
Well, yeah, that's true. But in terms of the bat off the bench that you can provide, there's no one like Mark Vientos, and so you gotta at least have hope and give him a chance to prove it, at least in this first half of the or this first part of the year. I won't even give him as much as we gave Sean Manea. I'll give him, until June. If he's not doing stuff by the beginning of June, then we have to reevaluate and say there's got to be somebody that can at least play some defense and be a good defensive replacement with a decent bat off the bench. And if not, then we're out of luck.
Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens. But this kind of goes into the right field position, right? So both Benge and Talkman are doing well. Benge went 2 for 2 today with 2 walks, run scored, RBI, and the things are swirling around that Benge might be being sent down to AAA, and why? Why? I don't understand why Benj is going to be sent down to AAA. This guy has performed enough to win the job. Mike Talkman is Mike Talkman. He's a good player, but he's a bench piece on a playoff team. That's who Mike Talkman is. He's yeah, you know what I mean. And I want Mike Talkman on a team. And this is the where we're talking about Mark Vientos again, right? Is Carson Bench going to be sent down to AAA because of the fear of losing Mark Vientos because there's no spot for him? And we want to send Bench down because Vientos doesn't have any options and he's stuck on this team. To me, I don't agree with that. Again, we can't be that organization anymore that's afraid of losing prospects, especially ones that don't look good. He's not looked good. He's let me put this straight. Vientos has looked good for 3 months out of his entirety of his career, right? He's looked good for 3 months or 4 months. I'll give him 4 months. He's looked good for 4 months out of how many years? And if Benj gets sent down because we got to keep Mark Vientos going 0 for 4 every day, I'm gonna lose my mind.
Yeah, he definitely can't go 0 for 4 every day. That would be ridiculous. And you don't need um, to give him the Lindor treatment, saying that he'll get it figured out because he hasn't proven that yet. And in regards to Carson Bench, I've been saying it. I've been saying it. It is the David Stearns way to overdevelop these players until they're ready and that they're proven. We don't want to give these guys too much pressure to start off their careers, and we don't want to push them too early. And I'm not saying that Carson Bench can't handle it or can't handle the pressure or is not ready, but what I can say is that he can't. What can't hurt him is a couple of months in the minor leagues. Now, that's not going to be forever. We know that Carson Bench is going to come up this year, and it's just a matter of time. But when we have serviceable major leaguers that can play the position, do it well, and have experience there, it can't hurt but get experience down in the major league. I mean, down in the minor leagues. So, to me, it's the right move to send him down to develop and to work on his game. Uh, because here's the other thing: we don't know if Carson Bench is going to end up playing center field at this point because Luis Robert isn't a guarantee to continue with the team. We talk about we've this the theme of this podcast episode has been leashes. How much of a leash is Luis Robert going to get? How much time is he going to get to develop? And if it's not as long as we're saying, because obviously he doesn't have the Lindor treatment either, where he's going to get time to figure it out. He's not going to get DFA'd, but he's going to probably sit the bench if he can't figure it out. Then Carson Bench is going to be the guy that slots in for Luis Robert, and benefit him to at least get some reps out there in center field down in the minor leagues.
I'm about to lose it. I can't believe it. I'm about to lose it. Luis Robert talking about his leash. He's going to get at least half the season. Because at least he provides defense and the potential to run into one, and he hits lefties well, something that Taylor doesn't. So he's gonna get a good enough leash just because he can play defense. But here's the problem with what you said that I have a problem with. Serviceable player on a playoff team, that means he's a bench piece. And that's what Talkman is on a playoff team. So look, he Bench can play better defense than Talkman, got a better arm than Talkman. And here's the thing. Here's the thing. At the end of the day, Benj will be batting ninth for this team, right? And everything that you said, this offense is producing. He's gonna work on his own at batting ninth and just be that player. We can't be that organization anymore. I believe, yeah, he didn't win the position like Pete Alonso did in when he was coming up. So, but I think he did enough to win the position. And what message are you sending not only to the clubhouse, but to the young players down in the organization that if there's a guy that clearly won the position, because Talkman's doing Talkman things. Like if you expected Talkman to win the right field position based on him being Mike Talkman, then you should have never said Bench had a shot to make make the opening day roster. Because if you were going to sign a guy like Talkman, then there is no point because Mike Talkman was going to do Mike Talkman things, and I don't know. I that's all I gotta say.
And see, this is the thing too, is that we don't want to just send these guys packing for no reason, because that's what would happen with Mike Talkman and MJ Melendez. I know
Well,
MJ Melendez
MJ is going
has
to
a
be
minor league option,
yeah.
but um, how long is he going to stay in the minor leagues for before being traded to another team because he can play, and traded for a prospect with a little more time on his minor league options? And with Mike Talkman, he's only here if basically if he can have a role on a team. And if he doesn't have a role on a team, I think he's talked about it before. He doesn't want that piece kind of role, and nor does he deserve it because he's played well enough to have at least the start of the year. And again, he's had experience in the major leagues. He knows the league well, and if this is the case where down the line he doesn't do well, then we can cut ties and be like, okay, that was fine, and he got us to where we needed to be. I don't think that. So the mentality for me is Carson Bench isn't going to make or break the season, where in the past we've let these prospects make or break seasons, saying that if these guys are up here, then they have to produce or our season's done. And that's not the case here. And so for me, it's give Carson Bench the time to develop, get him in the minor leagues to develop as much as he needs to, wherever he needs to, and Mike Talkman or MJ Melendez can fill in the gaps until then.
Uh, Look, Mike Talkman. You know, here's the thing with Mike Talkman. He said he's getting older and he's wanting to win a championship at this point. Well, guess what? All the championship teams are going to have him on the bench. So if he wants to leave, he's not going to a championship club. He's going to go to a club that, yes, is going to allow him to play, but he's not going to go. What team is going to go to? Red
He'll go
Sox?
to the Braves. The Braves could use him.
Uh, well, he might go to the Braves, but at the end of the day, I'm not worried about that because Mike Talkman is still a bench, a number fourth outfielder. You know, and you being a fourth outfielder, you shouldn't even be worried about that. He's a good bench piece, but if he wants to start, this isn't the place for him. I'm sorry. This is not the place for him if he wants to start. If he wants to win and potentially go on a playoff run, then yes, this is a place for him. But as far as sending Bench down, I'm telling you, I'm gonna go nuts because I want to see Bench up here from the beginning.
And listen, I think we agree on one thing. I don't want to see Mike Talkman play in right field in October. I don't think you want to see him playing right field in October, but I am okay with him playing right field in April and May. That's where I'm at, because like I said, the more fire you put under the belly of Carson Bench, the better, and the more runway that you give him. Because right now he doesn't have a running start. I know that we say spring training is kind of that, but that's not a running start for him. You give him that runway, and he'll go off to the races.
Yeah, but here's the thing. You know, you talk about fire. What fire do you think you'll have if all offseason you say you got a chance to make this roster if you perform in spring training, if you win the job, and then send him down to the minors after he wins the job? That to me is sending the wrong message, not only to the players, to Bench, but to all the other players down in the minors that Stearns is just talking at this point, and you don't know what exactly is going to happen. And from what I understand, all these guys have said that Stern has been honest with them. And if we want to take Stearns at his word, he said Bench has every chance to win this position. And to me, he's won the position. And I mean, that's about it. But I don't want to belabor the point because we can continue going back and forth on Carson Bench. I'm gonna let y'all decide. You let me know how y'all feel, and let me know, is Carson Bench going to start in AAA or is he going to start in the majors? Do we continue to keep um, holding on to Vientos even though he continues not to perform? Now it's over a year now that he's not performed. And what do we do with Manea? Let me know in the comments. Let me know how you're feeling. And are you excited about baseball in 10 days, opening day next Thursday? And I just excited. But before we get out of here, Victor, any last words? You're muted. You're muted.
Sorry. I was saying I'm repping my Mets gear because I'm ready for it. And you guys missed the rant, but you'll hear it plenty these next couple of weeks because baseball is here. We've been saying it for a couple of weeks now. But no, after the weekend that we had with the WBC and the excitement that this past week has provided, you know, I I'm just ready for Mets meaningful baseball to be here, and we'll talk about all of these things when that time comes. But I'm excited for a winning baseball team to get put out there on the field.
All right. All right, guys, let me know. Subscribe to the channel, like this video, share this video, let your friends know. And until next Monday, because next Sunday, sorry, guys, we're doing our fantasy draft. So we're not going to be on Sunday again. We'll see you next Monday after basically our team is all set and ready to go. All right, guys, until then, let's go Mets.